everyone, this is Jody from Cody's, and I'm here again. We're going to have our little chat with expressing ourselves in art. So we're just going to do more. I'll show you real quick what we're going to do today. Well, you know what, guys? I got to switch my camera over, so hang on. Wrong camera. There we go. There. Now you can see what I'm working on. I had the wrong camera going on. The technological stuff on all this is not my high point, so you got to bear with me. But this is a old tile. Went to a garage sale and gosh, amazing sale on these little babies. So I thought that would be a good project. But I don't know if it's a floor tile. That's what it kind of looks like. But I painted it because it was that color kind of. And I painted it white with chalk paint. Just because when I use decoupage paper, it makes my print pop. So what I'm going to do with this is decoupage paper. And what I'm going to do with this is show you how to organically tear the edges around, because I'm not going to use all of it. We're going to, at another time, we're going to blend some of our colors all in here. So we'll show you how to do that. And we'll talk about what our subject is today, talking about God. Remember, we're doing letters to God. Well, what that looks like for me is getting up every morning and writing at least 3 pages of my thoughts, things that are going on inside, what's bothering me. It's kind of like a brain dump is what it is, but it helps me to be able to get my things out to God and to kind of look within on what's going on inside of me and how emotionally am I reacting? Do I have control of my thoughts? So that's what we're going to talk about today, why we create. Because remember, with that also, too, I told you that part of God's healing for me is doing art, being creative. And that might look like knitting, sewing, quilting, whatever, all kinds of different stuff for every different person. Mine is in creating, because I struggled with thinking that I was a very creative person because of the way I thought in my mind. Remember, we talked about taking captive thoughts and renewing it with those positive words of God. So I would encourage you too to read God's word so you know his promises. And that's how we're going to live life. The Bible is full of instructions how us to live our life successfully with God guiding us and helping us. And we serve a living God. So let's get back to what we're doing with our decoupage paper. I'm here at the studio. Some of these I've been doing at home, but the last few ones I've been doing at the studio, these talks we've been having. So I've got water here and a brush that I'm putting in there. And I am not going to use all this paper because, as you can see, I'm going to have to end up blending is what I'm going to do, but that's okay. It's no big deal. We can go over more that way and blend the colors out there if we want. Maybe I'll do that instead of having to pick it up on all the sides. Let's see, what side do we want to do? Just kind of, when you do decoupage, you get a plan on where you want your image to go, what your thoughts are on blending, and see, we'll have to blend all this. And I'm going to take off half of the base back here. So it won't be tons of blending, but it'll be a little on the blending side. Maybe we'll do this like this. I think we'll do it here. That's what I'm thinking, guys. I'm going to have to grab my paper too. Remember, I used cellophane paper to smooth out my thing, and a brush. And I can use this brush, I guess. I'm going to go grab a different brush. Hang on, guys. Okay, back. So what we're going to talk about today is how God works in our life, because we've been talking about having faith, walking by faith, not believing the lies, putting God's promises in our head. But what does this look like? In all honesty, guys, how do we do that? I mean, it's fine for me to tell you that stuff, but how do we do it? Well, I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I've been able to do it. I'm going to go right here. Let's see if you can see. I took the water, and what I'm doing is just kind of wetting my paper so I can tear it. And that way my paper is not so blunt looking. It gives me edges that will be easier to blend in with my paint. Because unless your paper is all the whole size of what project you're doing, you're going to need to blend in the edges one way or another. And that's what we're going to do next time. We won't get it this time. So what does that look like for me to grow, for me to have my life changed into all I was created to be? How does that happen? What are the steps in that? And I'll share with you some of the steps that God took me through, which we all know. Our first one is faith, believing that whatever he brings us to, he'll bring us through, and he'll give us everything we need to be able to do it. But one thing that I've noticed with God is that he doesn't do anything in our lives unless he involves us in that too. So what does that look like? That looks like we have to walk by faith when he tells us to do something, when he brings us to something in our lives, such as what we look at as trials. We might look at them as devastation, but in all honesty, it's opportunities for us to grow. On the way that we look at that, our faith, it gives us opportunities to grow. And the way that he's helped me with that is showing up every day, getting consistent in what's going on in my life, what I want. Like I said, we're involved in it. You have goals, you have desires, you have dreams, or you just on autopilot and letting your life take you. And that's what I was for a long time, when I believed a lie that, this is it, this is life. I have no choice in anything that's happening in my life. Well, we do. God allows us to go through trials. He brings us through circumstances that could look pretty bad. But when we walk by faith and we know his love for us, that he's with us, he's got us one way or another. But being consistent on showing up and doing the work. I hate to say doing the work, but because, salvation is a free gift, but you have to take it in order for us to have it, right? We have to believe, we have to take it. If we deny it, then we're not taking the gift, but it's a free gift. Well, it's the same with our walk in him, is that if we trust him, faith is a action, faith is a verb. Having that relationship with him every day, like we talked about, that, when I first started walking with God, I know his word says we love him because he first loved us. And that's the truth. I told you, I didn't love God at first. I didn't even know what the heck was going on. Was he alive? Was he real? Remember, that was my invitation to God, not knowing if I heard about him. I went to a vacation Bible study. I did all the stuff as a kid that you are exposed to, let's put it that way. But did I personally know him? I know a lot of people. I've talked to people, and one person I talked to, I asked her if she had a personal relationship with God, and she said, well, haven't you heard? My grandfather, my great-grandfather, they were preachers. And it's like, that has nothing to do with nothing. I didn't ask her that. That's them. Everybody is going to be held accountable for their choice. I can't get in on my mom's skirt tails. My kids couldn't get in on my skirt tails. As far as getting in and having that relationship with Christ is what we're talking about. But getting there is with our changes. We're already saved. That's a free gift. We take it, boom, we're saved. But what about the walk? What about changes in our life? What about giving God glory and honor with our very life? I mean, you can look and say, I was created for so much more than what I got going on. But yet nothing changes. Why is that? Do we have anything to do with that? And that's where I say, yeah, we do. We do have something to do with it, because God gave us free will. He values us. He loves us. He knows the plans he has for us, which are going to be good. But a lot of times we don't believe him. And that's the thing too, is, fear that God's not going to know you and give you what you feel is best for you. I know I've had relationships in the past that, I begged God, oh, let me keep this boyfriend. Let me take him with me. And it's like, no, you can't, Jody. You have to trust me is what you have to do. Well, God had a far better guy for me than what my sights were even on, because sometimes our emotions are wackadoodles on the way we see things. Not sometimes, a lot of times. Because our emotion plays off of circumstances and old stories in our head. How about that? I mean, I've thought in my life that, oh, I'll never find a man who's going to love my children the way their father did, even though the relationship was very toxic and abusive. Just that justification in my mind kept me in it, which is not good. It wasn't to my benefit. It wasn't to my children's benefits, but my old lies were telling me, hey, nobody's going to love you or your kids like this man. Well, obviously the man didn't love me with the right type of love, or I wouldn't have been being abused. And I'm not totally blaming him. I kept myself there for whatever weaknesses, reasons I had. But truly, everybody's responsible for their own life. I can't blame him for all the stuff that I allowed myself to stay there. He didn't keep me captive. I stayed there from my own belief system and my own lies. So we do have a choice. We have a choice to show up, and consistency would be a major thing. That's what God's showing me in my life right now. Consistency. Well, you guys can't even see what the heck I'm doing. Come on, get the camera right. I'm at the edge, and I put my water there, and I'm just kind of going this way. So I'm kind of just tearing it. All right, this is what we have, a big blob. So what I'm going to do is, there, resituate it. Okay, so our next step, let me get this where you guys can see it. I'm struggling with my camera today. All righty, I use a brush. I have my top coat, and you guys know I use top coat to put this down. I don't use the Mod Podge deal. And hopefully I said that right, because I struggle with pronouncing that word because I don't use it for one thing, and probably should practice at that. I've had people correct me, you're saying it wrong. Okay, so as you see, I'm putting my lacquer on top. I'm going to smooth my paper down. And this right here is rice paper that I'm using. It's not your regular decoupage paper. It is decoupage paper, but it's rice paper. So I'm just smoothing that down. And this, as we talked about before, is our anchor paper. That's kind of funny, just like Christ is our anchor. God is our anchor, right? We're going to walk the walk. It's like, did I walk it perfectly even if I was consistent? Did I walk it perfectly? No. I don't even want to tell you some of the stupid thoughts I had in my mind about choices that I made when I was a Christian, when I was free to make my choices. Yeah, I guess that's because we're a work in progress, guys. There is no stupid question to the Lord. And that's, trust me, I had plenty of questions for him because I didn't understand the things of the Spirit. When you've always walked in your flesh and all of a sudden you realize that spiritual things are real and true, but still don't know how to navigate with them, in them, and then it is a journey. But our God is a loving, understanding God. He is all about that. That's why we talk about a personal relationship. We don't talk about religion. We talk about a personal relationship that has to do with him and you, and his love with you, and him speaking truths over you, and you beginning to grasp hold of it in your heart and believe it and change. And like we talked about, how does that happen? Happens one step at a time, through showing up, through getting knowledge. Like I said, I had to read. I'm still reading. I read the Bible. I read all kinds of books to get more knowledge, because that's going to help me go forward. Same as being a kid and you go into school. Well, you grasped all kinds of knowledge to be able to grow up and mature and be who you are today. So I would continually tell you to read. And like I said, it's read the Bible. That first tells us the promises, but also read other things too. You know, I read a lot of self-help knowledge books on even changing your brain pattern, changing the way you think, real life stuff. That helps me. As you can see, I just keep doing a little bit at a time with this, just smoothing it down, getting my wrinkles out, getting my bubbles out. And remember, we're just doing this on a piece of tile. Like that wrinkle in there. Just lift that up, put a little bit more down. You don't want to add tons because it will tear your paper if you get it too wet. And that's something I got to remember to do, is to wet my paper. That'll help me a lot with these wrinkles and stuff. And I forgot to do it. I get to talking. Okay, so now we're going to spritz our paper and help it lay down a little bit easier. But with that being said, too, when I do that, it's going to give way to my paper being able to tear easily, more easily. Okay. So also too, I'm not sure on if you guys in the comments, I can't see them now, but I always look at them. If you have questions about or want a subject to talk about, just put it in the comment and I'll check into it and we'll do a podcast type thing on it. We'll talk about it. Because you know what, guys? Life is short and we want to live it to the fullest. And we will want to be all we were created to be. And that's exciting. To me, it's exciting. I tell you, when I was young and struggling all the time, when you have a lot on your mind, your kids and making it in life, and you're still a young Christian and don't really know how powerful the things of God are and how he's faithful and will show up and will help you. You think you got to fear everything and of course, we got to make wrong decisions in that too. We got to take over because we don't feel like God's showing up. But he is showing up. He just works differently than we work. We think, I always thought, well, hey, you can do it. You know, I mean, it's like that lottery thing. My finances would be A-okay. All you need to do is provide me with the right lottery number. But I didn't buy lottery tickets because honestly, I knew that wasn't the answer. But that's kind of like what my relationship was with God was, hey, you can do this. But when God said to me, yeah, but I'm not doing anything that I'm not involving you in. So this is what I want you to do. You know, just like, honestly, when I struggled with drugs, it was like, just say no. And that was my healing part with him when he gave me that and said, today you don't smoke pot anymore, for lack of better words, guys. And I said, you know, I'm not married. I don't see anything different in my life that would change that. And this was my argument to God. And he's like, no, I know, but I'm telling you, just say no. That's what I needed to do. That was my instructions for that day when he revealed to me, today is the day you're healed and you don't do that anymore. Because I'd been praying about that. I'd truly been praying about being released from that, but I needed his help. I need his help on everything. And maybe some of you are stronger than I am. You know, how simple is that? Just say no. I mean, it is right now, it's a title, it's a thing that they have said, just say no to drugs. But way back then, if you can imagine, I'm 74 now, and it was years ago that this happened to me, that I did. I said, okay, we'll give it a go. I don't understand, I don't see, but I'm going to be obedient to you and I'm going to do what you say because thus far you've been working out for me. I believed what he said. Everything was coming true. That's what he builds our faith. We're not born with that faith. I think he says everybody has a small amount of faith to start with. And then it grows. And how does it grow? It grows by doing it and seeing, you know, pondering back. I've seen how many times he showed up for me, how many times that he had given me instruction and I did what he says. And like I said, I'm not perfect. I didn't necessarily always do it without a little, I don't want to say rebellion, but questioning. I questioned everything because that's my personality and how I am. I question. But that helps me grow when I do question too. So he did tell me that, and I did it. I went out that day, and I went to a friend's house because like-minded people hang out together. And remember, that was one thing I had mentioned to God when I realized I tapped onto him, was that I can't dump my friends. I can't quit smoking pot. I can't do all this. I'm not going to be fake and phony and tell you I can. because I can't. And he just said, bring it all with you. Bring every bit of it with you. So I did. I took him at his word and I brought everything with me. But I also knew deep down in my heart that this was not good for me. This to live a numbing life all the time. I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it, but yet I didn't have the strength, knowledge, know-how, faith to just say, okay, I'm done. So I did what he said that day. And I went to my like-minded friends that I was hanging with, and they offered me to smoke pot with them. And I just said, no. I said no, what I was supposed to say. And they said, oh, you don't smoke pot no more? And I said, I didn't say that. I just said no. So one day at a time, I said no every time, just counting on what God had said to me. And after 6 months, I had somebody say to me, you don't smoke pot anymore. And I said, I guess I don't. So that was my revelation but I had to take it one day at a time. It didn't happen overnight. It was one day at a time. All right, guys, we did our thing. We're gonna let it dry. Looks kind of weird now, doesn't it? It's a pretty pattern. It's rice paper. And we're gonna let it dry, and then I'll save it for when I get on here again, and we'll start blending. And that will be a process too. It's just like our journey on our little talks, our truthful talks. And that's what I'm being to you, is truthful on my journey. And why? Because God gave me a heart to. I know there's a lot of hurting people out there that need to hear truth, need to know that there's hope and that we can be all that we were created to be. Why are we living this yucky life when we can be happy? And it's not a fake happy, but it's a healing inside. It starts from inside is where it starts, guys. So take hope and move on. But remember, show up, because you are going to have some work to do. Like I have work to do. It's a journey every single day. God's not done with me yet. I'm still got issues and problems inside of me, that insecurities, that he's working on every single day, no matter how old I am. And nobody's different. Everybody has a different story, a different journey, but we're all uniquely made with the ability to allow him to heal us. But the Lord does not do anything without involving us in it. We have a part in it. So we need to show up, be consistent. If your mind is talking trash to you, start renewing your mind. We talked about that, how to change your mind. Journaling is a real important thing. I write positive affirmation to myself continually, what God's word says over me. And that gives me the strength to go out the next day, one day at a time, and live in my best, giving him glory. All right, guys, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again. Remember, choose joy.